जय हिंद दोस्तों, मैं हूं मेजर मोहम्मद अली शाह और आज मेरा बहुत बड़ा सौभाग्य है. आई एम ट्रूली ऑनर्ड टू हैव अ वेरी वेरी illustrious personality, a super senior of mine, not only from the forge but from my school. Rather, I would say from the best school in the world, Lawrence School, Lovedale. Someone who's had the best of education, and well, there's one thing I have learned from him. इंसान किस खानदान में पैदा होता है ये जरूरी नहीं है, इंसान खुद क्या करता है ये बहुत जरूरी है. Yes, the son of a very very illustrious, a very senior air force officer of an air marshal, but who carved an own niche and became a rare admiral in the navy, who was awarded with the Ati Vishesh Seva Medal, the NM, and he's done exceedingly well for himself, exceedingly well. He has taken active part in the around mid 80s. We had this Indian peacekeeping force at Sri Lanka, where we'll come to that. We'll come to all his adventures. But let us, instead of, there's so much to his personality. If I go on talking, I think I'll end up spending all the time talking. I do not want to do that. But before that, let me wish all of you a very happy Navy Day. Today is 4th December. And a very auspicious occasion to speak to a very illustrious admiral from the Indian Navy. Sir, Jain sir, and thank you very much for spending time for us, sir.
Jai Hind, and thanks so much for having me. I've been watching all your episodes and was waiting for a chance to be on one of your shows. So thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Very kind of you, sir. Sir, let's start from the very beginning, sir. Let's start about your school days at Lawrence School, Lovedale first, sir. So how was it? Tell me one thing, sir. The upbringing, the grooming that Lovedale gave you, I'm sure it must have helped you a great deal in Forge, in Academy as well.
Absolutely. It's been exceptional. And I would like to add that now my classmates are all at the stage of retirement or nearing retirement. And when I exchange notes from people from all walks of life, I would say that Lovedale was the perfect school which kind of prepared us for whatever profession one chose.
In fact, I'm wearing my Lawrence School Lovedale tie, my Lawrence School Lovedale blazer, and my Lawrence School Lovedale shirt. And many of you might be thinking I'm tricking you, that this is not my Lovedale blazer and shirt, but it is. It has my kit number written behind. And so tell me about your memories from school days, sir. I mean, because anyone who has grown up in a boarding school and who has seen Forge can adjust anywhere, anyhow, speak to anyone, anyhow. He can survive and sustain with ease anywhere in this world, sir. So let us share something about some anecdotes you would like to share, sir, from your school days.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, there are so many memories, some good, some bad, but with the passage of time, even the bad memories become kind of lessons which one has learned from. And there is a feeling which some people have that, you're kind of cut off from the reality of day-to-day life, and, you're ensconced in the Blue Mountains, and you're not exposed to the rough and tough life of, a city or the cutthroat competition which one faces when you leave this secluded kind of environment and a total clean sort of an environment. But I kind of deeply believe that, though you're tucked away and all that, I feel the moral values and the integrity, which is kind of, it keeps us going wherever one chooses to, whichever profession one chooses to follow. And with those values or those, they stand you in good stead whether you join the services or the corporate world or wherever. I feel that each one of us has left a stamp in whichever profession. Like most recently, Tyagarajan. I really admire the guy. He was a couple of years junior to me. He's a minister in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, and it's amazing work he's doing. So there are so many memories and so many camps. Duke of Edinburgh camps one has gone forward. We gymnastics, so many memories going on treks and bonding with classmates, some pranks, raiding the orchard. There's so many memories of monkey to and all that, and a little bit of ragging, which I actually don't really endorse things like ragging and all that. But when I look back, I mean, I guess it kind of toughened me up and kind of strengthened my will to make sure that one didn't do the wrong thing anytime. And especially things like physical sort of punishment. I've been absolutely averse to that, and because of whatever little exposure I had to this kind of thing. So that kind of stood me in good stead throughout, and I ensured that there was no injustice in whatever units I served in or commanded. So that's why I'm trying to say that even in the bad memories, one has something good to learn from.
Very true, sir. Very, very true, sir. And sir, for our friends, for our viewers who are listening, who would be wondering why we're talking about ragging, well, in our time in Lawrence School, Lovedale, there was a lot of divide between senior and junior, and it was same like the forge, like the army in a way. So it used to be a military school at one time, and that's the reason. So tell me one thing, your father was an illustrious Air Force officer and Air Marshal. In fact, your brother also was an aviator. So was that the reason why you chose aviation later on, but why not the Air Force like your father, sir? How can I'm glad you took a decision of joining the Navy, yes, but why not the Air Force? Why the Navy, sir?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I decided to fly and join the Navy in class 6 itself, because that's when my brother, who was 5 years senior to me at Lovedale, joined the NDA as a naval cadet. And all along, we were very clear that we wanted to fly in the Navy. Now, when I look back, I sadly lost my parents in '97 in a car accident. So when I look back, from the very start, my father used to kind of encourage us to go into the Navy. And I have the sneaky suspicion that he deep down didn't want us to fly, because I mean he was a fighter pilot who'd flown 45 different fighter aircraft, and all the fighters till the Mirages. So he probably understood what the risks were involved in flying and things, and he must have had this thought that if he was able to convince us to join the Navy, we'd probably stick to ships. But I mean, little did you know that both of us did join flying, and my elder brother sadly died in a air crash in 1985, 6 months before I joined the Navy.
Yes, sir. I mean, we're very, very sad to hear that. In fact, sir, your sister is married to Brigadier Chaco from the army. In fact, so your brother he left this world after his sister's marriage or before her marriage, sir?
Just before, just after the marriage. In fact, it was like 86 January 11th was the wedding, and on May 17th the same year he died in a night flying sortie.
Yes,
about 6 months, 5 months after the wedding.
Sir, you have done extensive flying over Sri Lanka. In fact, Sri Lanka was in the news of late for the change of government, and the government was toppling and such things. So tell us about your experience in the mid 80s and during the IPKF times, sir.
I did two tenures over there. For the Navy, it was a kind of a temporary duty, TD sort of thing, where you did 3 months at a time. So I did 2 stints of 3 months each, and in Jaffna and Turkey and all that, those areas, and lots of flying over there in support of the army operations and with the ships which are deployed off Sri Lanka.
Sir.
And I got a chance a couple of years later to take part in the Somalia operations as well.
Yes.
Mogadishu. So these were really good. It was very good exposure. But I didn't face any real combat. I was never really fired at. We don't have any such stories to share with my grandchildren many years from now. But the thing is that I was in these operational areas. Mogadishu was also very interesting. A lot of missions supporting the Red Cross. In fact, on 3 occasions, we had to carry $1 million in notes from the airport to the US Embassy in support of the Red Cross guys. They requested us because the streets were very dangerous, and they knew that they would get attacked by the Somalians. So they asked the Navy for help. So I did all this. I was very young. I was in 6 years service. It was an exciting time.
So, tell us about your Nausena medal. In fact, you got the AVSM recently, and we all saw you march up to the president very smartly on television. Everyone saw it, in fact. But tell us about your Nausena medal. When you got it for your command, you were commanding INS Brahmaputra, and for the command you got this. So share a bit about your command, sir, because you're the officers who were under your command. They all swear by you, sir. We all have, and you, of course, you have a very, very solid reputation in the force, sir.
Thanks. I hope so. But I enjoy that command like as any army. Also, Navy guy will tell you. I mean, the best tenures are when you're in command. So I was really fortunate to get a chance to command 3 ships. That's Nashak, which is a Russian missile corvette, and Kirpan as a commander, and Brahmaputra as a captain. So during that tenure, the ship was operational for the entire 15 months I was in command. And we got a chance to do a lot of exercises, and including anti-piracy patrol. And we did a prolonged deployment to UK, France, Spain. And we have these annual exercises like Konkan with the Brits and Varuna with the French. And later in the year, we've done Malabar with the Americans. So I got a chance to get exposed to all these exercises. And the ship sailed extensively, and I guess my tenure was considered worthy of Nausena Medal. That year, 2 captains were given. I was one of them.
Sir.
I think I'm very fortunate to have a really good crew. And I guess success in command, I feel in my, I mean, to my mind, I'm not some General Makata kind of chair, but like an average guy, I would say that it's all about the passion you bring to the job, the passion you have for your command, or actually caring for your men and really enjoying every second of it. I think that translates into success. That's my kind of a mantra. If you enjoy what you're doing, it's kind of palpable. If you're really spirited and you feel from the heart for your men you command, and now it's women as well. Then each one of those guys, of the 250 guys and in your ship, they put in that little bit of extra effort, and I think that's where the tiny difference comes between how one ship performs or a unit performs and another doesn't perform as well. So I think that's the secret of success, as I see it. And that doesn't restrict itself to the ships. When you look at any organization, even the civil world, you see all the successful people, like whether it's Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, it's the late Steve Jobs. I was a big fan of his. You see the passion they brought to whatever they're doing. Steve Jobs, for instance, I believe almost till he actually died, he kept working. So it's obviously a higher force than just making money selling iPads or something. So it's driven by a kind of almost divine sort of a force, and I feel it's impossible to compete with someone like that. When your aim is something much bigger than just making money, or in the forge, if it is much more than just getting a promotion or something, then I feel you are driven by a higher kind of a goal, and things like promotions or success just comes along as a kind of byproduct. So in the sense, I would say it's like enjoying your command is the primary thing, and it should be purely for the joy of doing it, and not so that you get promoted or something. I mean, that's easier said than done, I guess, but I honestly followed that kind of dictum in whatever I did, and I guess it worked till the point.
That's right, sir.
Left as a rear admiral.
So I was in a long conversation on telephone with the group captain Khashav. He's an Olorenshan of the 49 batch. In fact, who has seen Lawrence School Lovedale before the partition and after the partition, when the Britishers were there. He's seen that. In fact, incidentally, very interestingly, he told me some very interesting anecdotes. He was, your father was his instructor, in fact. He was your father's student in the Air Force. Were you aware of that, sir?
Yeah. I had a long chat with what an amazing person. In fact, he had come for the founders' celebrations, and I interacted with him a lot, and he's a legend.
That's right, sir.
He's from our school, and these are people who it's it's an honor to even speak to them. So I feel kind of blessed that I got a chance to speak to an amazing person.
Sir. So you have been a sailor on sea. You have been an aviator in the skies. You have also been an off-roader. In fact, a very avid biker. You have ridden the Royal Enfield, God knows where all. So could you share a bit about your expeditions and about your escapades and about your adventure you would have had by road on the Royal Enfield, sir?
Yeah, it actually happened by a kind of default. So I did a long tenure in Goa as a flag officer naval aviation. So when I resumed charge over here, I was alone for 4 months. My wife and daughter were in Delhi. So the very first week, my flag lieutenant or ADC, which you call in the army, so he came and said that, look, you're sitting at home doing nothing. Why don't you join us for a bike ride? So I said, I last rode a bike some 30 years ago as a youngster. He said, just give it a shot. We got a brand new Enfield lying here. So why don't you try it? So growing up in the 80s, like I envy the generation next now, where you have all the fancy super bikes of the world, and also you're paid much better so you can afford all those bikes. In our time, it was a choice between the SD and an Enfield. I went for the SD because to ride an Enfield, you had to be this the real tough guy, 6 foot tall chap who can lift up a bike and all that. It was really heavy, and plus it was very technical. You know, there were these fancy gauges, and it took a long time to start. The kick was on the wrong side; it was on the right side. I mean, on the right side rather than the left. So everything was opposite. So there was this elite bunch of Enfield riders, where I wasn't part of that. So I was a bit skeptical. But now when I rode the Enfield, I mean, then I started studying about the Enfield. I turned around the company in 2008 when Aisha took over, and it's transformed kind of like I don't want to be like pushing the Royal Enfield company over here, but it's the ultimate bike. So when I started riding that, I got hooked, and it was like after the 90s, I was riding after some 30 years. But trust me, there's no age for biking, and it's like you really experience a place in all its glory. You know, the sights, the sounds, the smell, and the bonding between fellow bikers, I mean, it is really classic. So I was hooked from the very first ride. And during my 4 years, every year we did a long expedition. The first one was sponsored by Enfield. We got some 10 of these Himalayan bikes, and we did Jamnagar to Calcutta. It took 25 days, and I joined for 4 days. Obviously, as a rear admiral, you can't go for 25 days. So I did Paradip to Calcutta, but they did the entire coastline of India. The second ride was sponsored by Java, and we did all the northeastern states. And the third ride was again by, and I did Tezpur to Kohima. My father was AOC Tezpur, so I was keen to go there. And my postmate was then Major General PC Nair, now he's a Lieutenant General. He was heading the Assam Rifles at ATG Assam Rifles at Kohima. So that's why I chose that leg. And he's now Lieutenant General PC Nair, the boss of Assam Rifles. We're very proud of him. He's my squadron mate from India. And the third ride was to commemorate the 71 war, 50 years. So we started from Vikramaditya. Again, it was an Himalayan Royal Enfield Himalayan. We started from Karwar, went out to Goa, Bombay, whole of Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab, Kardangla Pass, and at the War Memorial. So here I did Jaisalmer to Amritsar again 4 days. So it's been a classic experience. And now that I'm retired, I bought this Royal Enfield Interceptor. It's a 650cc bike, and I was by now the Royal Enfield guys are good friends of mine, so they gave me an out of turn bike. There was a limited edition Royal Enfield Interceptor, so I got serial number 1 of only 60 bikes which they made. It's black and gold. I'm very proud of that bike, and grateful to Enfield for letting me buy that.
I have fond memories of
This
Kohima,
series.
sir. I was posted in Nagaland. In fact, I had 2 tenures in Nagaland. One was ADC to GOC 3Co, and other was with the Assam Rifles. In fact, I led the Assam Rifles marching contingent on Kartavya Path now, that time Rajpath, in the year 2008. I have very fond memories of. So you must have visited the World War the cemetery, the World War cemetery at Kohima.
I did. When you go think of for your tomorrow we gave out today, you know, it's beautiful. I'm very sentimental of all these things. I spent 2 hours there seeing all the graves, and it's amazing. Really, the tennis court battle and all that. I saw that. And, he had a special show of that, the Sound and Light show, replaying the entire war. And that was really nice. It's a must-see place. I mean, one of those bucket list worthy places. And now you have the Hornbill Festival there. I think it's happening
Hornbill is
right
going
now.
on right now. That's right, sir. That's right. In fact, we used to help out in organizing Hornbill that time. We were stationed proper in Kohima only. And I've seen, I think, 3 Hornbill festivals. So it was quite an experience. Sir, the day you picked up your admiral rank, sir, how was the feeling? I mean, firstly, you come from a hardcore Fauji family. So your father, Air Force, your brother and you, Navy, your brother-in-law, Army. So when you picked up your rank as a rear admiral, I know it might sound very cliche, like, something like Simi Gerewal asking, how did you tell me? How did you feel? But sir, I really would like to know that feeling, the exuberance, being an Air Marshal son when you became a rear admiral yourself. So how was the feeling, sir?
It's a really good question, and it was a really fantastic feeling, and made even more special by the fact that my family, my wife and daughter, my sister, brother-in-law, niece, all of them were there in my office. And you talked about a school. You won't believe it, the 6 classmates of mine from all over the country came to my office. So they were all present when I put on my rear admiral rank, and that made it really special. So that's one thing which I also, I mean, again, I don't want to be given too many sermons here. I mean, I know there are much more experienced people who would be probably watching this video someday. But in a simple way, I'd like to say that I guess the journey becomes special only if you have friends and family with you. Otherwise, I've seen many people tend to forget people and focus only on getting ahead in life. And you, at the end of the day, it's hollow. If you've achieved anything, because like now when I'm on the other side of the fence, I mean, I retired 7 months ago. I realized that your rank or your decorations, which meant so much when you were in the forge, it's finally just a prefix and a suffix when you retire. And finally, it's the respect you continue to have if you've been a good guy or worthy of the respect. And I think that matters much more. I would say the journey is as important or more important than the destination. So you could have had a miserable life, and you look back and say, "Oh hell, I've become a flag officer or a general officer or something," but I've never really enjoyed that journey. And I think it's just not worth it. So, with all honesty, I would say that I have enjoyed every bit of that journey, and it's been really fantastic. And
Sir.
another thing, now that on the topic, if I may add that I can speak about the Navy because I really don't know as much about the Army, though I'm ex-Navy, so I know what the Army is all about. But at senior levels, I would be sure that the challenges would be the same. So what I feel is like the jump from a commodore to a rear admiral, or I would say brigadier to a general, is huge. It's like jumping across the Grand Canyon. All the other ranks, actually, till then you're kind of prepared for the next. Like for example, now I did an XO and a Steli tenure. Then I took over Kirpan. Then I went. Then you go into a bigger ship, which is a frigate, and some go on to bigger ships after that also. The point is, each job is a precursor to the next. But then all of a sudden, when you become a rear admiral or a general, I mean, then it's like a tenfold or more kind of a jump. So and there's no training course for generals or for admirals. I mean, you do this higher command course and all, which is kind of useful, but the sheer vastness of the responsibility, you've got to be. I mean, I feel you should be preparing for it for the last like 10, 12 years, because that's what I keep trying to pass on to my friends or juniors or youngsters who asks me for advice. I say that you've got to keep preparing yourself for a greater responsibility, because I mean, if you want to do justice to that, because what happens is so much on your plate. So you may be a very good operational guy, so you go all out for ops, and then you suddenly find that everyone's crying because the houses are bad, or hospital is in this really lousy shape, or the armament depots are not okay, or so the ability to multitask or to build up your sixth sense or your intuition to anticipate that something's going wrong. And I think that's what you're paid for. Those few small
Yes, sir.
decisions. So like I read a lot. So I don't know if it was Ford or one of these big guys who's advising his son. He says that 90% of your decisions could be done by a first year or second year MBA chap. He says it's those 10% which decide whether this company. I'm sorry if it's not Ford. I mean, it's one of these fancy companies. Those 10% will decide whether this company is going to go ahead or not. And you are paid this huge sum of money for those 10% of decisions. So I feel if you apply the same thing to the services, your decisions would make a huge difference. I mean, I'm talking about peacetime. In wartime, of course, it's like way, way more. And so, or you can just, go through an appointment and kind of do well in that, but actually you wouldn't have done justice if you haven't been able to multitask or give attention to each of the issues. And again, I feel it matters a lot about what your priorities are. So each one of us has different priorities. So for me, for example, people were always the top priority. So I would be in the midst of some briefing, and then suddenly a guy will come and say that some DSC guy is had a heart attack and he's gone to the hospital. I would drop everything and go there. Things like that. Or and here it was an 84-bedded hospital, so it catered to the army as well. So there would be some army guy or some outlying unit which has nothing to do with me. So I could actually just look, it's not my guy. He's not directly under Goa naval area or something. And I would make it a point to go there. Or if a child, there was a time when a baby had to be evacuated by an aircraft to Bombay, which is a more specialized hospital. So I dropped everything and went and saw off that aircraft. I mean, not that I got some great healing powers or something, but it was that, I got to be there when something happening which actually matters. So I feel the crux is focusing on what matters to you and doing the right thing at the right time.
Sir, very true, sir. So you mentioned about the DSC guy. So you also went to, on that note, you also went to DSSC, Wellington, to do your staff college, sir. So which is very close to our school, in fact. So I hope you used to visit our school every weekend. I hope.
All the time, because my niece was very close to my sister's daughter, was in class 8 there. So literally every week we were there. Once a month we were allowed to bring her home. And, so with half a chance I would go there. And the school was very kind to call then Commander Rajendranath and myself. We were classmates from school, and we were really fortunate that we did this course together. So we went there, for example, for a career counseling day where we were in our fancy winter uniforms. And so we gave our usual pep talk on how great the Navy was. And so at the end of the day, out of all these 11th and 12th class students, just one or two said that they want to join the Navy, but I think they were just being polite. Most of the guys said, your uniforms are really cool, but we'd rather go into software or something where we can make money. So it wasn't too successful. But it was always great to go back to school. In fact, I'm really happy that now I'm the vice president of the Old Laurentian Association. I was that's a great opportunity to give back to the school. I look forward to contributing more now that I'm retired. Hopefully find some time.
Of course, sir. So tell us about your role as the vice president of the OLA, of the Old Laurentian Association. All of us were very excited, especially the Fauji's. In fact, your batchmate, of course, and everyone else. Everybody was voting for Philipose. Come on, we were all cheering from you for the side, sir. So tell us about your role as the vice president of the Old Boys Association, sir.
So thanks so much for all the support and all you guys. I mean, that's why I guess I won that election against a super worthy, very senior guy. I mean, a senior of us from school, 12 years senior to me. So I was really, and I told him that I'd be requesting him for guidance as we went along. So I'm just unraveling what I have to do over here. But I found it to be quite an effective organization, and the last 3 or 4 years there've been some fantastic Old Laurentians like Mr. Johnny Paul and Mrs. Veena Pelliyappan, and they've taken a lot of it. They're from 70 batch. So what we're trying to do is every week, every Monday, we have a video conference supposed to be for the committee members, the president, vice president, and a lot of volunteers. We discuss various issues, lots of forward-thinking things. There's some youngsters there and some really smart guys like Rohan Shetty, for instance, who got a great exposure outside Sham, who's a general's son, incidentally, is a software wizard. So they keep coming up with various ideas in career counseling, online. And then now the latest thing is we're trying to look at internships and all that, how we can help OLs. Another thing which on the lines which we are both part of that Old Laurentian Fauji group, which I had started, say, 5 years ago, basically so that we can all be on the same forum. So there, for example, that Fauji group has some 70 Old Laurentians, and you would have seen that anyone wants some advice on something, or any sort of help when they're moving around or whatever. It's a great way. I mean, I've color coded Army, Navy, Air Force, so you end with the ranks, and so everyone knows who's there in the group. It's a closed group, and so on the same lines, we've already started an aviators group with airline guys, and there's a marine group with all merchant navy people. Now we're trying to open out to various other professions. So I think that will be a huge service to any of the kids who want some advice, or as they venture out of the Blue Mountains, want to get into the real world. I think this would be a fantastic platform for mentoring the Laurentians as they step out into the big wide world. So,
Sir.
and many other initiatives. So, one of our most loved teachers, and she turned 100 a couple of months ago, and a tree had fallen on our house. So, we were raising some 80,000, which was raised in some 5 minutes, and we were able to reimburse her repair fees and things like that. So wherever anyone needs help, or reaching out to people, or if you have some skill, going back to school and say, like my classmate Farouk is a top-notch photographer. So a couple of years ago, he'd gone there and done a so like that, and kind of spread the word. So more and more Russians go back to school and give back. And we're trying to strengthen the chapters. There's the Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, and we've had a reunion in Delhi recently. I think you were out of station, so that was very successful, and that's been followed up with lots of other reunions so that everyone gets to know each other. So there are lots of other stuff. So I'll keep updating you on this. And in fact, my suggestion was to have a kind of a helpline type of thing, because it's spread out everywhere. So, like for example, I'm in Goa. So if someone gets stuck over here in the airport or whatever, and there's someone in a position where he or she can help the other person, we just need to step out and do something.
So you went to King's College London to do your, I think, MA, if I'm not mistaken, sir.
Yeah, no, it's the equivalent of the National Defense College, NDC course. So after my Brahmaputra tenure in command, which I talked about before, I was selected for the RCDS course, Royal College of Defence Studies. It's a 11-month course, and there are 90 students from like 45 countries, and 3 of us from India, one Army, Air Force, Navy. 3 of us did the course there, and the MA program was optional. So about 26 of us, out of the 90, only 26 did the MA program, and I was forced to do it with my classmates who were in the UK. They said, don't be a fool and just go for it, because King's College is among the top 4 colleges in the world. So I took that opportunity, and so I got an MA at King's College. It sounds impressive on my resume now that I'm retired.
Sir, I honestly, it's been such a pleasure. I know that you are busy. I promise you I will not take more than half an hour of yours, and I've overshot by 2.5 minutes more, in fact. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for spending time, especially on Navy Day, sir. It's truly an honor for me, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, and thanks for giving me this opportunity. And all the best to you and to all your viewers. May your numbers of viewers keep increasing, may your popularity keep increasing. I think you're doing a great job. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Thanks. Yeah.